Focus is going to be back on this offense because they have started to sputter here since late in the second quarter. Joffrey Reynolds has been the most effective component of the Calgary offense for most of the day.
Yeah, I think Burris, you know, when you look at his completion percentage back up over 60, that had dropped drastically over the last 4 games. He's only had 130 yards passing, so they haven't, like Matt Dunnigan said at halftime, they haven't really pressed the ball deep. Joffrey Reynolds was a bigger factor in the first half that he's been in this third quarter, but I think Burris is getting back on track, and he still had a couple of Brent Ralph drops.
54 yards on the opening drive from Henry Burris in the air. Can't find anybody here. Here comes the pressure, and Burris gets away. And now drops it off. Reynolds with some room to roam. Down to the 35. Henry Burris does some dancing, and then finally gives it to Reynolds.
And Ben Archibald does some blocking. First of all, Henry Burris, I mentioned it looked like his game is back, and this is his game. The ability to extend the play by moving around in the pocket, buying himself some time. He picks up a hellacious block that are going to show you again in a minute, and then with his eyes downfield, he drops off to Joffrey Reynolds for a big play. Watch Ben Archibald right there on Stevie Baggs to get his quarterback out and around the edge.
32-yard play, and now Summers down to the 31, has close to 4.
You know, when we talk about that offensive line, Demetrius Sumpas is a guy that has drawn a lot of attention, and in just his second year, of course, the veteran Jeff Pilon, when I asked John Huffnagel about his offensive line, he tells me Ben Archibald is grading out #1 across that group, game in, game out. That was strictly hustle, not giving up on the play, not giving up on his quarterback. That's the block of the game right now.
Yeah, Rob Lazio with a pretty good one on that same play. Down to 6 minutes left, third quarter. Haven't had any second half scoring yet. Here's a pass to Lewis, and Nick Lewis still going. Broke 2 tackles and has a first down as Eddie Davis finally brings him down. 17 for Nick Lewis.
Nick Lewis is starting to break out a little bit. Just 100-yard game for Lewis. In the 2009 season, we talked about his problems down, or not problems, but his challenges in the end zone, in the red zone area, where he hasn't had that first touchdown. Not necessarily his fault.
Had just 10 catches in the last 4 games, 5 today for 70. And it's a first down for the Stamps. Burris rolling. Stevie Baggs tracking him. And he runs out of real estate. Tad Carnegie helps him out.
Well, you saw what Henry Burris did on that play to Joffrey Reynolds. And Stevie Baggs, who took the block from Ben Archibald there, he's now tracking down Henry Burris on this play one-on-one, and he has to be patient with him because he knows how well Burris can move, how quickly he can run. He's right off the corner, and he is going to have to be patient. If he tries to lunge and get selfish and come up and try and get a tackle or a sack, he could get in big trouble. He just is patient and flushes him to the sideline.
Got 2 2nd and 8, no touchdown passes for Burris in October. A pump, and ball's down, ball's loose, and the Stampeders get back on it. Ben Archibald saves it, and there's Stevie Baggs getting to Henry Burris.
And that little sign he explained to me yesterday was saying that he is going to remain humble and appreciate his opportunity in the Saskatchewan Roughrider defense. That's why he does that. He comes off, he's patient. Joffrey Reynolds missed the chip block there on the outside, and this is him with, well, a sack. It's a forced fumble, so and that's I'm remaining humble and appreciate my opportunity.
So Sandro DeAngelis has to come on to attempt a 31-yarder. He puts it through, and it's Calgary by.
Important series there, especially that last play to get to Henry Burris and cause that fumble.
DeAngelis to Armstead from his 4. Lane Carpenter down in a hurry. Some of the big plays for the Roughriders today.
Well, they had an answer. Jermaine Franklin was talking with Ken Miller at halftime there, talking about every time Calgary went down and scored, did something positive offensively. Darian Durant found the answer, and it was Canadian receivers coming up with big plays. Andy Fantu's there. You saw Jason Claremont the play before.
No points for the Rough Riders here in the second half. Stu Ford is back in the offense. And Durant on a roll. Might take off. No, he has Andy Fantus again, and looked like a face mask there at the end of the play. It's a first down for Fantus. Pickup of 12 and no flag.
That hurt him because it looked like it was a face mask, or at least over the helmet, that really wrenched him back. Fantus just slips to the right of your screen. Malik Jackson right there across the top of his helmet.
And Fantus has his first 100-yard game of the season. 6 catch, 105 yards. Here's Ford. Stu Ford, more positive yards, and another first down. I'll tell you what, he is the super sub as far as running backs go, isn't he?
Well, he is, and this all-Canadian offensive lineup is producing. You saw Andy Fantus with a nice catch there, and then kind of Thunder product. Stu Ford comes up with a nice run here in the backfield, and that, you know, in that shotgun formation. And what's luxury for Paul LaPolice is that he doesn't have to change the game plan at all when they substitute for Stu Ford.
13-yard run. Cates comes back in with Ford, who takes the ball again and bounces again across the 50. And 4 more for Stu Ford.
When you get production out of a Canadian and tailback as well, it gives you an option, because now you don't have to take an American off. With the designated import rule, the Canadian Football League, if you had another tailback that was an American or an import coming in for Wes Cates, then Cates would always have to come out, or an American receiver would have to come out to make that substitution. But they don't have to do that in Saskatchewan. They can both play.
They had a 2-back offense the last play, just one, and it's Ford again on 2nd and 6. Quick hitter, Fantus. Cut down there by John Eubanks. Fantus arguing the spot, which looks like it's going to be at least a yard short.
Eubanks goes low here on Andy Fantus, who's coming from right to left, across the formation, out of the backfield. Again, it's so important on this throw to get it to your receiver quickly so that he can turn and brace for impact. If that's a split second later, that shot really hurts Fantus, but he saw it in time, and will be close.
Another 3rd down, 3rd and a full yard. So Durant to the sidelines. Giles is out. They've converted a couple of these so far. Big boys stack up again. Giles straight ahead.
This will be closer.
Yeah, much closer. The other 2 were... Yeah, Tim Johnson came out with the football. That does not appear to be the issue, however.
The other 2, Stephen Giles went off tackle. He did that Adrian McPherson type of quarterback sneak in Montreal, where he takes the ball and goes outside and goes off the tackles. That time he went right up the middle.
It's going to be close.
We're going to take a look at it. And you mentioned Tim Johnson had the ball at the end. Let's see if Giles lost the handle here at some point. And the ball's loose there.
And it's a turnover, but a turnover on downs. The ball was loose.
And Tim Johnson caught that in the air. So Ken Miller is talking about challenging the spot on the play.
That may not be a good idea, because...
Well, they can see, if they see something other than what is challenged, they can rule on that as well. And I think Tim Johnson caught this fumble in the air, unless there was some sort of whistle.
Would be the first turnover of the game.
Saskatchewan is challenging the spot on a 3rd down.
They're going to challenge the spot. And I don't think that Giles ever really got full control from the center. He looked like he was juggling that a little bit, and we did see that ball come loose in this first replay. And here's another look at that picture. Here it is. And right there, the ball has come loose and is free from Stephen Giles with a lot of movement up front still happening. And Tim Johnson ended up coming up with that ball. Now, they are actually reviewing the spot, but if they see that there's a fumble, they could rule on that. You can see that Johnson has the ball in his hands there. And I don't know, even if you think that Giles had possession, I don't know if you could rule the change, and he never had
really
control.
had
He never had it. That was out of there.
Didn't look like any surge forward for a full yard, and certainly not enough to overturn, and they work on that snap at the sidelines. That's the one danger in bringing in the other guy, although it hasn't been a problem for the Rough Riders very often this season.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. First down, Calgary. Saskatchewan is charged a second half timeout.
Well, there was not enough evidence to overturn the call as far as just forward progress by Stephen Giles anyway, so there's no really need to mention the fumble, but either way, that was Calgary's ball.
Yeah, turnover one way or the other, man. It is Stampeder football. Close to midfield. James Patrick showing safety blitz. Ball in the flat, and Robbie Bryant can't catch it. A drop with Donovan Alexander close.
Interesting little rotation there defensively, as you mentioned, James Patrick came up from the safety spot and he blitzed from over here. But what they did is they rolled back Sean Lucas into the middle, so it really wasn't a completely full blitz. But I counted 4 now in this game, 2 of which by Brett Ralph would have been extending drives, and you can see running back coach Dave Dickinson going, that hurts a quarterback.
And Dave's playing with it on the sidelines. And now the quarterback of record looks at 2nd and 10. 5-receiver package. Now Reynolds out. And that pass is intercepted. Lance Fraser flag down. And Fraser dropped at the 51. Let's find out what that penalty flag's all about.
And Burris is hot because I think he thinks it's illegal contact downfield. Lance Fraser's working on R.J. Franklin. There was some contact.
Pass interference, 87 Calgary. Penalty is declined. First down.
I was going to say, there was some contact made between the two in R.J. Franklin and Lance Fraser. And I wasn't sure, when you look at it, whether or not it was that guy or that guy that drew the penalty flag. But it's basically straight little down and across the middle curl route, little contact made there as he drags underneath. And I think they saw Franklin with a little push in the back, or that his arms went there. But that's a weak call at best.
Not sure what they saw, but Fraser has his 2nd interception in as many weeks, 4 for the season, and Rob Bank gets drilled by Dwight Anderson. He got hung up there, and Anderson had a free shot.
That's a quick close. Darian Durant gets it out there in pretty good time. And that's Anderson tackling through the receiver, Rob Bagg.
Tough way to get 4 yards. 2nd and 6. Final play, 3rd quarter, barring a penalty. Over the middle, Cates the catch, and now he's going to be a yard short.
Close.
Within about 5 yards from where the gamble was unsuccessful on the last series. They'll have some time to think about it as they switch ends, headed to the 4th quarter in Calgary.
We could dress up as Romeo and Juliet.